Hello folks, it's me, once again, your local bibliotech nerd, and today is Batman Hush Part 4, the finale of the whole recording. It has been an absolutely long journey, so today we'll finally wrap it up, and then on Friday I shall be looking at Detective Comics number 33, I believe, and next week we shall be looking at a whole completely new story. So definitely stay tuned for that, because it's only going to get better and better. So once again, let's kick off the video with a short summary. Chapter 10, The Grave. After Batman having to step into the middle of the fight and hold Robin back, Catwoman gets impatient with the whole ordeal and takes a Batcycle into Gotham. She encounters a delirious huntress and all hell breaks loose, as she must now fight for her life. Not all is how it seems though, as the Batman had been close behind and joins into the fray. It doesn't take long though for the Scarecrow to also arrive, having been the one who drugged up the Huntress. The real climax though is of course the reveal that another individual had been under the bandages this whole time. The previous deceased Robin, Jason Todd. A fierce battle ensues as the dead had risen to claim revenge on the Bat. Chapter 11, The Game. How could this be possible? It doesn't even seem right. He talks about the Lazarus Pit, but something doesn't fit properly where it should be. A battle ensues like never before, as his old apprentice is more than prepared for the fight. How can one fight against the dead that has risen? He doesn't. It wasn't Jason Todd. It was Clayface. It took long for Batman to realize this, but once again the strings were being pulled from the shadows, and the puppets danced to a sad and gloomy tune. Having had enough, Batman meets up with Oracle to figure out how this all could have happened. The name was Harold. So long ago he was found by Batman, the silent mechanic that helped to build the Batcave. The unseen help with access on the inside. His meeting with Harold on the bridge was cut short though, for the man with the bandages was standing behind him, gun smoking in hands, and Harold's last breath stolen. Who is this mysterious man? Chapter 12, The End. Batman had enough. The game would end on this rainy night. Although the fight is a difficult one, the struggle is in the memories brought back from the past. This wasn't some random stranger that had concocted this master plan to take revenge on the Batman. No, this plan had been created to strike at Bruce Wayne. The man in the bandages was Thomas Elliot, Bruce's longtime childhood friend. It was Jim Gordon and Harvey Dent who finally finished the fight, with Harvey being the one shooting Elliot into Gotham's harbour. Batman has changed. Not even his private life had been kept out of this whole thing. Trust would be a hard thing to come by. Even Catwoman had come under suspicion, as it had been too perfect for her to be the distraction at this time period. So ends the story of Hush, with Batman alone under the moon in Gotham. Now that's the end, folks, of the summaries and the whole story arc of Hush, and I will now move into the opinion side and the whole wrap up for this series. Without a doubt, this has been a roller coaster of a ride. The writing by Jeph Loeb was outstanding, and the accompanying artwork by Jim Lee really brought the whole story together effortlessly, giving us a truly iconic story and some stunning pieces of art. Now the plotline / storyline for the very end. Once again, returning to this point, the story always keeps us reading. The main reason being is that it has consequences on the life of Batman. It strikes so close to home, and placing the Batman in such a vulnerable position ensures that the reader stays to the very end. The addition of Jason Todd in this comic was quite remarkable. Even though it was only Clayface pretending, one of Batman's greatest failings had come back to haunt him. Todd had been so young when he died. We can see how deep this wound had cut. So much trust had been placed in Batman, but the hopes and aspirations of Jason Todd were cut short by Joker that night long ago. There is a small criticism here, though, that I have to bring up. Making Jason Todd the end villain with the combination of the Riddler would probably have been better than Thomas Elliot, in my opinion. Maybe some people might disagree, but I found that the motivations of Thomas Elliot were kind of out of proportion to the whole master plan that had been in the whole story arc. Yes, greed can be a good motive, and the shock of Bruce's childhood friend being this crazed villain is, it's still a decent story plot. I don't think it really fits the overall theme of the personal feeling of the event, though. I know this is slightly ironic considering that Thomas Elliot is the childhood friend, but by this time he's kind of a stranger, and for me personally it just doesn't click for him to be Hush. Honestly, I would probably argue that it's more the Riddler that brought up kind of the personal aspects that were in the story arc, and no, I wouldn't really give credit to Thomas being the one that also introduced that aspect of the master plan. The fact that the story all began when Thomas wanted to kill his parents for their money, and Bruce's dad saved his mother and he had to wait until she died later on. It doesn't have quite the same impact as imagining Jason Todd actually having been resurrected by maybe Thomas Elliot, and then the story arc revolves around him, Todd, concocting this whole master plan with Elliot, also wanting to take revenge. Let me know what you think here, if I've articulated this point properly. Do you think that Thomas Elliot was a good surprise, or would you agree that he kind of seemed a bit mismatched for the role of the overarching villain, although, of course, the Riddler is also still there in both scenarios? Now, moving on once again to the art. It was spectacularly done. I really enjoyed seeing Jason Todd. The way he was drawn, and especially the color palette used on him, slightly reminds me of the X-Men in the 1990s, I believe, though I'm not 100% sure on that. It kind of gave me the vibe of Wolverine and his sideburns, or I believe, is it Gambit, the guy with the cards, and he throws them and they explode. So I definitely give the nostalgia factor for seeing Jason Todd in that type of art style. So thumbs up for me. Now moving on to the use of the different colouring styles, such as the watercolours that really brought the comic together. The flashbacks always have that strange honey glazed over them, if that makes sense. When we look back, and the fact that the colour choice and the drawing style helped to further enforce the emotions that were associated with it, each memory really shows the talent in this novel. The blue of the early memories, they give off the that cold kind of long distance memory or sadness in a sense, and it also fit when in the current time Batman was holding Catwoman in the alleyway. The cold full spread blue picture, it really showed the emotions, I suppose. And then when we move to the red of course, is the traumatic time when Jason died, when Barbara was shot. Comic books are, after all, the visual medium, so hopefully, you're supposed to be able to an extent, sort of get the idea of the story, the gist, the feeling that the authors want to propose from the pictures, and of course the extra narration and the speech bubbles further and force any ideas that may be placed into the comic. The fact that they achieved some of this through how they drew, and also how the coloring really impacted the story, I think it's a great idea. So this all gets a thumbs up from me. So that's kind of the end of this whole video right now. I definitely recommend people getting this comic. check out your local comic book store. They'll probably have it, I would imagine. And of course, if you're not really living beside a comic book store, try Amazon. They've got a great selection in case you can't, go to an actual store. So my final thoughts are a great book overall. Great to put into your collection. You'll definitely enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video and of course the previous ones. On Friday I shall be hopefully releasing Detective Comics number 33 if I remember correct. And next week hopefully I will start Superman, the Last Son of Krypton. Leave a like, drop a comment, follow me on Instagram, and I shall see you with the next video.